Welcome to VHS Samvada program. Today we have Ramesh Sethuraman ji from VHS Tamil Nadu. Hello Nikunji, you are back.
Namaste and good evening. A very warm welcome to all the viewers of the fourth online internet Samvada brought by Hindustan Samvada, Karnataka. 18th Samvada, we of Ramesh Ashram of Nityanand Saji, who spoke Sanatana Dharma, a true scientific religion. A very informative and eye-opening with excellent life examples why it is truly a scientific religion. Very
Bhujanga ji, do you want to continue? Nikunji seems to have issues.
Yeah, I think I will take over from where Nikunj left off.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have this Samvada session today, and it's my privilege to invite Shri Ramesh Sethuraman ji to deliver the talk on the freebies and whether it is a necessary evil in our society. Without taking further time, I request Ramesh ji to deliver his speech, and then subsequently we will have a question and answer session as long as time permits. So over to you, Ramesh ji.
Ramesh ji, you are on mute.
Thank you, Bhujangaji. It is an absolute pleasure because being part of VHS family, it gives an immense pleasure to connect with each and every one of you and share my thought process and my point of view on this particular topic. Of course, we discuss a lot, whether it's Nikunji or Tejas or all the senior folks. When we discuss many topics, we always play the devil's advocate role also, and that leads to some research. And then further, we try to see what is the pros and what are all the cons that is involved in each and everything. Then we end up getting a better view. So this is an interesting topic because we come from I come from Tamil Nadu, obviously, and the most interesting thing about Tamil Nadu is you name any controversial thing in politics, especially the so-called wrong ones, right, including corruption. So they used to say you always can find its roots in Tamil Nadu. I mean, I'm saying it with utmost sadness, though I may smile at it, because they always say people teach the politicians who have recently passed away, so they taught how to do the corruption in a scientific way. Means like you do it, but you don't get caught or whatever it is. So, but now it has become like a nationwide culture where the parties want to make money, they want to lure the voters. We have seen it. You see, we all think that in the last 2-3 decades only people got corrupted. They take the money and then vote. What I found very interestingly is even I've heard it from senior citizens. They used to say that even during their younger days, they have seen the rural village people taking money and then casting their vote for the politicians. And very interestingly, recently I also came across a movie which was about 45 years old. In that also the scene comes where the politician questions the villagers, saying that, hey, why should I do the good thing for you? You have taken money from me, like half a 50 paise and 1 rupee from me to cast the vote. So why should I do it from you? So I was shocked and surprised. right? So which means that, I mean, if it was there then and it is there now, only thing is at the time it was only money, probably, or some rice and all these things. So later on it became like, even for election rallies, you end up giving, let us say, in Tamil Nadu we used to call it quarter and biryani, means like, they pay you 500 rupees or something per day. In addition to that, they give you a packet of biryani. Mostly it will be chicken or mutton biryani, I believe. Also they will give a quarter, means typically they are referring to the liquor bottle, which is like a quarter a bottle liquor that they give. So that there it all started, and people started getting used to the liquor, and then people started drinking. That is one area where you can what do you call, blame, right? Where you can blame and tell that, that these election rallies have introduced even youngsters or women, some women unfortunately also drinking or consuming liquor and all these things. On the other side, if you look at it, the same political parties who are running these rallies after election, they found a way to capitalize it or make it into revenue making mechanism. Means like, it is like, my father used to say, uh, in during his younger days, in Tanjavur region and all, if you see, they used to consume betel nut and betel leaf and all, right? But they never consumed tobacco. So they used to call it pogale, like a chewable, in the chewable form, right? And then a company came, and they used to give it in free packets, a small packet. They used to bring it in cars, or they used to bring it in bullock carts, and then distribute it to people who are working on the field. And then what happened? 10 days, 15 days, they consumed. Nicotine is addictive. And after some time, people have started buying it. And that's how it kind of started spreading, right? This is one part of it. Of course, I'll just start showing some of the slides so you will be able to understand what I'm talking about. So you will get the context. That is the kind of a thing that happened, and ultimately the governments, the private players, one side they manufacture the liquor, the other side the government used to, in Tamil Nadu they used to auction the liquor stores, and then there the concept came where you also auction the bars, right? So which are all revenue making scheme. At some point, the politician like Jalal, they thought that no, this should be run by the government itself, though part of them and then their cohorts used to uh, have stakes in the liquor manufacturing company. This is one part of it. The other side, anyway, you have made it into a culture where drinking. Okay, you are happy, let's go to the bar. If you are sad, let's go to the bar. Let's keep drink. And it was shown like it's a single medicine or Ramban. Unfortunately, I mean, I shouldn't be using the word Ramban. That is a medicine for all your worries and any problem you may have, right? And this is how they today. If you look at it, Tamil Nadu makes a government makes a significant revenue out of the so-called TASMAC, which is the state-run liquor stores. Okay, so let me go back to the basics. So in 2021 April, before the assembly election happened in Tamil Nadu, this is what the election panel had to say. They said in Tamil Nadu, cash, which I was talking about, liquor, which is again playing a very important role, and third important thing was freebies, and we are today talking about freebies, right? And is giving. Okay, so before and after, how the election works, right? When they give all the poll promises, and then after election, if you start questioning them, okay, they turn blind eye towards it, and then they just go. And the other side, when you talk about freebies, it there is a great a joke which you can see on the right side of the screen, where a pig tells another pig, right? This is in the Western context because they consume the pork and hams and all these things, right? So it says, "Hey, look at it, we have a free barn. Look, we also have a so-called free food. Isn't it amazing?" Right? When you get everything free and then you are enjoying, means ultimately the end product that is being sold is you. So this is applicable for everything that we talk about, whether it is Facebook, because your data is helping them in monetizing in different ways by selling ads or even selling it for different purpose, including the election strategy companies which we have seen in the past. Right? And as the election comes, so does the freebies, right? They give it even during election, before election, during election, and after election. The before election, if you talk about it, we are talking about the food and the quarters, various things that I was talking about. And during election, just before the election, they also give you, let's say, as they go for campaign, they will give you the buckets or the so-called vessels and various other things in rural areas, and they will be very happy about it. And after election, obviously, it goes as part of the poll promise, where they say these are all the freebies you will get. It could be TV, mixie, washing machine, or mixer grinder. I mean, the grinder that we use it for making batter, or a fan, many things. So there comes the question. See, 1 crore jobs and all. This is not a freebie, of course, which has been put here. And of course, they talk about the religious tourism and all these things. When we talk about religious tourism, they'll say we will give you a subsidy of 50,000 rupees for travel to Jerusalem or to Mecca. All these things we have seen in many states. It is to appease the minority, whatever it is. But even the so-called BJP and kind of parties also said, right? Okay, we will give you the free houses and or various things, right? The schemes and all we have seen. So the question comes is, what is productive and what is counterproductive? So freebies, the moment we think about it, say you and me, mostly we all will be paying tax, and some of them pay huge amount of tax, means like 30% of our earning at least goes as direct tax, income tax. And then does it stop there? Definitely not. We pay cess, and then we pay GST, which is up to starting from food, it may be some 5%, it goes all the way up to 18% and whatnot. Come on, man. I mean, if I'm paying earning about 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs, and almost like 9 lakhs or something I end up paying, or at least 7-8 lakhs I end up paying as the income tax, right? But on top of it, I have to pay my road tax. I mean, is it not there in other countries also? Yes, it is there. But is that how far the government provides it? And unfortunately, when we compare this to the so-called developed nations versus India, here, if you look at the so-called middle class or the upper middle class and the upper class, whomever is paying the tax, or the tax paying class, we can say, versus those who are I mean, we can't call the so-called economically weaker section also as non-taxpayers because they pay the indirect taxes. But having said that, they also get a lot of subsidy and various other things. But having said that, the major chunk that is collected through the direct taxes, especially like the income tax, if you look at it, that is being spent on the guys who are not paying the tax in the name of welfare. Correct? Today, if you look at it in Tamil Nadu, I mean, a very interesting thing that I've seen is for Kejriwal, the guy who was the so-called election strategist. The moment I say the word, everybody will know whom I'm talking about, right? Prashant Kishore. The same guy goes into every single state and then repeat that same old formula. And then unfortunately, it also works with people. Like one of the things is free bus ride. Okay, free bus ride for the women. Fair enough. But after the DMK party came to power, they said for every kilometer they run the state government operated transportation bus service, they incur a loss of 65 rupees or 60 rupees plus, whatever. Now the question is, how can that be possible? Of course, loss alone, remember, operating cost is different, revenue is different, and ultimately we are talking about only the loss, which is absolutely not acceptable, right? On top of it, you are giving free rides. Okay, the smart thing that the DMK government has done is they said free ride for women, but only in the bus which is called the normal board, meaning like you have the name and number board, like 13H route, 14J route, which goes from destination A to destination B, all these things. Okay, this is okay, but what is the frequency of that bus? Unfortunately, if you see that it is 1 in 5 bus, only the normal board or white board bus which we have in the city. So you can't travel in all the other buses, and all the other buses ultimately they have hiked the fare for the ticket fare. Basically, they have hiked it. So rest of the people have to pay, and still again they are also talking about the loss. Now the question is, when everything is under loss, why should you give it for free? And they have given it for women. So how many people are going to go? So many question comes. Immediately people started criticizing. Look, people are women are seeing this as a free ride. They just go to they don't want to stay at home. Now everything is opening up, malls and all these things. People just go. They go to the beach with 2-3 friends and all these things. But how many? What is the percentage they do? How long they will do? But women like those who are in the street side, who are selling the flowers and all these people, they may seriously get benefited. So it is again a pros and cons that we are talking about, right? So initially we saw the so-called TV. So again, I am trying to give as many examples as possible from Tamil Nadu, as I said in the earlier thing, right? So we are pioneers in many things. So Karnataka government, the previous term, so or 2-3 terms ago, so they were giving the TV. So assume I am giving you a free printer. So I'm taking the concept of HP printer. So the printer cost will be extremely low, maybe 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees also. And I even give you a so-called inkjet cartridge free with that. That cartridge will be actually the cartridge size might be bigger. The ink will be only 1/4 of the content for the 1/4 of the capacity of the entire cartridge, and you use it with excitement. After that, you run out of cartridge. What you should do? You should buy it. When you go and buy the cartridge set will be like 1,000 rupees. The printer is 2,500 rupees. The cartridge cost is about 1,000 rupees. Imagine every 3 months or 4 months you need to buy it. If you don't use it, also the cartridge dries, especially the head and all get damaged in the jet printer, and then you have to again buy it. Look at this concept in the free TV that was given by Karnataka and his government. So what they have done is they gave the TV free, but the cable services were run by his party and the relative people, like the Sun Group. They used to have the Sumangali Cable Vision and all these things, and the channels. They were the pioneers in coming up with the private channels in Tamil other than Doordarshan, like Sun TV and all, and they started making money. How? They were giving it free. Again, that is also free, but look at the viewership, and because of the viewership, look at the ad revenue and everything you're gonna get. So they started eating major chunk of DD. But end of the day, who was really getting benefited? DMK was pushing all their agenda, all their propaganda through this channel, and people were consuming it so that they are ready for next election, or to counter the like an opposition. When you are in opposition, you want to counter the ruling party if it is ADMK. So that is how you do it, and then you also make money out of it. And look at it; it's a wonderful thing, right? Whereas when ADMK came to power, by the way, before I talk about the ADMK schemes, I would like to make a point with underline, with an underline that I'm not vouching anything related to ADMK or their freebies and politics and all these things, but I'm purely talking in the sense of the specific schemes. The first and foremost thing that Jalita did was, see, she said for the poor, you will get the cycle for the women or the girls, basically in the rural areas or going to the government schools, so that the kids can go to the school and then come back on time, because we have all seen what kind of an impact that could make in terms of safety or kids coming back home on time, so that the people with in rural areas, people have a mindset, right? After 8th or 10th standard, they will stop the kids from going to the higher studies, all these things, to avoid all these things. So that had a very positive impact. And second thing is, even if the children are not using, somebody or the other was using in the how in the house. And even before all these schemes, if you look at it, in the past also people are giving the footwear. Many people are not using footwear, so they gave the free footwear and so many other things. Of course, the midday meal and everything is there to lure the kids to come to the school, especially in the rural areas or in the urban areas from the downtrodden families or whatever. The next important thing is, she gave fan, she gave a mixie, she gave a mixer grinder, and then also the grinder. Now, including me, I said that they gave television, and because of this, you want to give this? Who will give electricity for it? First of all, in the rural areas, do we even have electricity? Or if you give it, does it really make sense? See, there are two challenges, right? One, when you give it free, unfortunately, before Aadhaar came, many families were having more than one ration card. So they used to have 3, 4 ration cards, and unfortunately, again, many families, you know what they used to do? If they have the ration card and if they need urgent money, they will go to a pawnbroker, they will pledge this ration card, get money, and then they will spend it. Now the ration card is with who? The pawnbroker. And ration and all monthly also, the I've seen in many cases those guys also take the ration in the name of these people, and then they will sell it also. So I have even seen that. That is one way of it's a one pilferage, right? Unfortunately, it's not going for the real beneficiary we are talking about. The second biggest challenge, again, if you look at it, who was facing biggest this thing? So these freebies come, na? Those guys will collect it. Look, now the pawnbrokers were also, I've seen them, some of them selling TVs, or even the so-called the mixies or grinder or fan. They used to say, "Aadhe cost mein de lo." Matlab, if you go to and buy it in the store, it'll be like this thing. You just, because those people wouldn't have come, or the family itself will say, "Look, I will get the so-called mixie to you. Okay, so you take this one, and then give me my card." So that they will get his money by, they will say, "Oh, no, I will deduct only 200 rupees. You have taken 500 rupees from me for this mixie, and not 200 rupees. Chalo, I will take it." So that is the kind of, and he will sell it for maybe 300, 400 rupees. Whereas a mixie, you know how much it would cost. But government mixie also, some people will buy, some people may not buy, for the obvious reason that the quality, how much you can vouch for. Because after maybe a 2 years or 1 year, sometimes even after 1 year, it may not work, and how to claim warranty. So many challenges are there. On the other side, if you look at it, you assume that they have given a quality one. Look at the benefit. Before I explain, let's say a fan. I will take the case of the fan that was given for the rural area. Assume there is electricity, and now people are enjoying 100 units of electricity free also for the household. But after the 101, you need to pay for it, right? So here is the excellent concept. So you have the fan, and assume this fan is given to the rural areas. Electricity is there, free electricity is also there. I mean, electricity, when I talk about electricity is there, I'm talking about continuous supply of electricity. Okay, so I went to Middle East, to be precise, I went to Abu Dhabi for a consulting assignment. When I went there, I was going to a labor camp. I was working with one of the biggest group, to find out where and all they have some serious issues. They are into real estate across the world. They are into many things, but still they were incurring huge loss. Then finally they were very close to the royal family. They came back and said that, look, so many things are happening, but we incur loss. So we help them in how to restructure the finance, how to kind of manage, optimize their IT spend, how to optimize their so-called operation spend and everything. As part of it, we went to a labor camp. So what is this labor camp? So it is like a it will look like the Hollywood movies, the prison and all they will show in the Hollywood movies, if you really see, like large fence, electrified fence or whatever it is, and then it covers a very huge area, maybe like 30 acres, 25 acres or whatever it is, and then you will, instead of the jails, you will have big blocks. Okay, it's not like a jail, by the way. Big blocks. In that block, it is like the residence or so-called boarding and lodging place for the laborers. Why? The government as well as the public in the Dubai and Abu Dhabi kind of a place. So what they have said is, we don't want these kind of laborers or all these people to be here because they are here for work. Other than the work, we want them away from this place, right? I don't want to comment about that, but generally this is what I was told. And so early morning, 7 o'clock, these people leave from the labor camp, and then imagine they have their food. Either they carry the packed breakfast along with packed lunch, and or they also or they have their breakfast there, and then have the lunch, and then the van leaves. And the roads are wonderful roads, so they cover 100 kilometers in just about an hour or less. They get dropped at the working site. Evening 5 o'clock, they complete everything. Again, they board the van, and then 6 o'clock they are back at the camp. Okay, this happens. So why am I saying this? Here, the laborers come, they get the food. For, by the way, for these companies, typically if you have more than 5 laborers or I think 10 laborers, some threshold is there. More than that, you need to put them in this camp, labor camp, right? That is the mandate that has been made by those so-called ministry or whatever it is. And when they do so, for every laborer, for every employer, there's a mandate. For every laborer, you pay about 15 dirhams or something per day. So within this 15 dirham, and government also some pay some subsidy or whatever it is. Within this 15 dirhams, their food, is that just the food? No, their place of stay, which is an air-conditioned room. When I talk about a room, average about 150 square foot, but we'll have like a bunker beds, right? Like 4, just maybe 3 beds, like that you will have in 3 corners, like 9 persons can stay per room. So air-conditioned place, and they don't wash their cloth. They have their food, and believe me, they get the best quality food. And there are about 9 different cuisines, like Indian includes for Bangladeshi folks and also for Pakistani folks, and they also have Moroccan, all these things. They also have for the Philippines and those kind of guys. So they have made something. So each people can go to the respective canteen, and then they can have their food. And when I asked them, why should you do all these things? Don't you think that they can afford whatever? But they came back and said, so there is a logic behind it. One side they said that we wanted to keep them here in the camps. But the other reason why we want to do this, we don't even want them to wash their clothes. We don't even want them to sit and prepare food after they come back, because they always think, the laborer will think, the moment evening when I leave, oh God, I need to go and cook something for myself, right? But because the guys who usually stay together, if you see in the labor camps, in those kind, or even in those places, they all will be working in one particular site. It is not like my friend would have cooked for me and all that. That kind of thing doesn't work. So all of them, and then they need to wash their clothes, and look at the amount of water and other things that need to be wasted, and then all these things. They said they have to go to bed at max by 9 o'clock, so that when they get up morning at 6 o'clock or something, they are fully fresh. They get cleaned up. They go have their breakfast if they want. Otherwise, they pack and go. Whatever it is, they have it at the side or they have it on the way. All these things. But when they reach the site at 8 o'clock, they are absolutely fresh. We have taken care of all their what do you call this thing, so that they don't feel tired at all. They are healthy. They have a good food. They are healthy. So if you look at the value of their productivity compared to the earlier times, I get 50% or 40% more productivity. The cost of it, if you compare it with 15 dirhams I spend a day, it is nothing, right? So I was pretty surprised. And look at it, when we talk about this, typically the guy goes between the age of 25 to 30 to the place, and then they all work for till the age of 40, 45 at max, because after that they believe that the Middle East typical mindset is that these guys cannot work in the physically what do you call straining work beyond the age of 45, whatever it is, and typically they are all sent back, right? So during this time, we want to maximize the output. We can get the maximum work out of them, and it's an advantage for us. And they have studied it thoroughly, and they have done it. So, I mean, of course, we have helped them to optimize it further in a different way. Whatever. Imagine, including a point where they have a very small mall inside this place. Outside, I don't know how much it costs for a haircut. There, they will say that only 10 dirhams for the laborers. And also if you want to go to your airport, you don't go to the city at all. They say whatever you want to buy, toys, chocolates, perfumes, whatever you take it for as a gift for your so-called relatives and all, especially in the rural area and all, you buy them, we put you in a van, you will be dropped along with a couple of other folks who may be going there to the airport. And similarly, they will also say, from here, you want to go to, because if you are a Muslim, you want to go to Mecca, Medina, whatever it is, we will take you on a particular what do you call a period, and they charge a very minimal amount. In that way, they also kind of have the bondage, saying that look, we also take care of you psychologically. So many other things they are doing. Okay, when I say that, and now I tried some pieces of it, I took some pieces of it, and then tried to retrofit it and see in the context of this free fan I was talking about, a free mixie or the free grinder. So for the women, rural women, if you see, some of them, if it is downtrodden, they also go and work, because they will go to the farm either for for seeding or for plucking the what do you call the initial plant that comes out, right? Whatever it is, so that we can deweed the whole thing, and then once again you go and plant it with the equal distance in the paddy field and all these kind of stuff, right? But if they have to do the let's say idli, dosa and all, we all know that they are all staple foods in South India, typically in the houses, right? In rural houses are also no what do you call exception to that. But when you do that, if they can do it in the morning, evening probably they will have the batter ready. So morning 7 o'clock they get up, they do this, and then otherwise if they have to manually do, look at the physical strain they need to have. On top of it, if they have to go and do the work, maybe even the road construction work, let's say they all take the big this thing on their head, and then they have to carry the stones and all these things, right? Even women do that, we have seen that. So these are all straining work. So actually speaking, if you study it a bit, what they have seen, and similarly, you have a fan at night. When you go home, you want to sleep peacefully. You can't even have this thing. You have a small hut. You don't even have electricity. Today you have a free electricity, and you have your fan, light, everything, right? If you put a fan, and this fan, the table fan, it is good enough. It provides a good enough air circulation, so that you have some peaceful sleep, especially during summer. When that happens, again, the next day morning, your productivity can possibly be better, right? Which is a good thing again. I see this as a real good concept. And when I talk to people in the rural areas, I was surprised that my assumption was right. And I think it is making a positive impact. And there were some private studies that were all done, and it was also found out that it has really made a positive impact in people's lives, right? This is one part of it. And apart from this, if you look at it, but while saying so, this also becomes a deciding factor as far as the elections are concerned. When you talk about elections are concerned, people vote only thinking about it, not about anything else. There comes the problem. So in 2013, I had a very good law advocate friend called Subramanian Balaji. Unfortunately, he is no more. He passed away in an accident a couple of years ago. In 2013, he filed a case saying that this freebies should not be allowed, but it is still continuing. Then there was a verdict that came out saying that if government is going to give the freebies, they need to tell the election commission how they would implement it. Meaning, where the finance would come, right? All these things. Even today, people don't. When I talk about people, don't referring to the parties, so-called political parties. They are not at all revealing from where the finance would come. And imagine it has come to a point in the last election manifesto, the ADMK government said a very important thing. They said that they will give scooters for the working women at a subsidized price. Was it really subsidized? Honestly, not, because I know my friends, the way how they calculated, they worked with different motor companies like TVS and various other two-wheeler manufacturers, and then got a quote saying that tell me at what lowest cost you can give me this vehicle, right? So something that they said that for rural, urban working, whatever it is. But what I thought is, now in many cities we see the two-wheeler taxis, meaning like in the hail driving apps, you can also see the two-wheeler you can engage for traveling up to 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, or even 10 kilometers. If they gave it for women, and then government also came up with a scheme saying that I will come up with you can also use it for private purpose, or if you want to engage, use it like this taxi service, let me come government act as an aggregator, and you can use this two-wheeler only at this platform. I will also charge you for some amount, whatever it is, but you also get the remaining amount in your bank account for every kilometer, this thing, whatever you are being engaged. Then it is for the women, by the women kind of a concept. Look at the jobs it would have created. Huge number of jobs it could have created, especially for the women, right? And also women would have comfortably taken the ride in two-wheeler, because you can't usually this two-wheeler rides, mostly women don't take it, right? If it is for the women, by the women, possibly it would have also made a revenue stream for the government, possibly, and it would have also helped uplifting many of the families. So the governments unfortunately don't think in this direction. Same way, if you look at it, if you look at it, okay, very what do you call, revolutionary scheme, I would call it, right? Jayalalitha came with the concept of called Amma Unagam or Amma Canteen, okay, and also then she also came up with many other this thing which is also called Amma. One second. So Amma water, Amma iodized salt, many things she came up with. Of course, one side she was publicizing herself, and the ADMK folks are continuing to do so. But on the other side, she was also seeing it as potential revenue, because what is it? So the water bottle, if you have to buy it like a Bisleri or any other water bottle, right? Somewhere it costs from 15 to 20 rupees. So this bottle they were offering at 10 rupees, right? So it was also a revenue generating stream for the government. So they were all selling it in all the corporation outlets near the corporation, this thing, or they were selling it in the railway stations and all this stuff. But what these guys could have done is that they could have extended it. You would have seen in the IRCTC when you this thing, right? You have something called rail need in the what do you call all the trains, right? You have this rail need and you pay the amount and buy the water bottles. the same Amma water, they could have taken it to all, they could have even approached IRCTC and then commercialized this whole concept. The government could have again innovatively made a hell of a lot of money out of it. I don't understand why they didn't do it. And similarly, if you look at it, this iodized salt, again, a significant amount of money could have been made out of this. Again, I don't know why they didn't do it. And when I was talking about this so-called Amma Unavakam, it is absolutely revolutionary, because for 5 rupees you can have your curd rice or sambar rice or something of that sort, or any mixed rice, right? Like curry leaf powder rice or whatever. On the other side, you can have one idli for 1 rupee, including something called sambar. I mean, when I say, why I say something called sambar, because it will be very watery. Don't expect it to be like the quality you would get from an upscale restaurant. And for the price, look at it. No, somebody who is going to work or a school kid who is going to school, if they want to have their breakfast, just pay 4 rupees, 5 rupees, have something, and then go. It is a phenomenal thing, and that is exactly was copied in Karnataka also, and they call the Indra canteen. I don't know how far they succeeded it. Because this is successful, the same thing they said that in Karnataka's name, DMK also promised that they will also open canteens in Karnataka's name, because it is making a very, very positive impact. My question is, this Amma canteen thing, the infrastructure has been established, but the cooking and everything has been done in the respective canteen itself. What I thought is, if they were really, really smart enough, they could have made a centralized kitchen. Further, they could have optimized the cost. Centralized kitchen, only serve it in this canteen, whatever it is, and they could have used the kitchen also for supplying food for, let's say, the IRCTC kind of a thing. For example, today if you go to all the railway station, what kind of the vendors and all, they are selling the idli vada and or any other meal, right, packed meal, and we pay some exorbitant amount. When I say exorbitant, in the context of for the quality versus what we pay, compared to that, these people could have even sold it. Let us say, if people who are traveling in the unreserved class, who are from economically weaker section, they will probably buy it and eat it, but of course not at the cost at which they are selling it here. Even if they sell one idli for 3 rupees or something, it could have been, look at it, it could have generated revenue. Look, again, they could have increased the so-called very positive impact, social impact as well. So these are all the innovative ways they could have done. So again, coming back to the quality of life index that we are talking about, so there are different ways they look at it. We are talking about Switzerland and Denmark, which is not a surprise for us. Whereas India stands at, let's say, 65. And very surprisingly, look at our so-called neighbors, right? China and Pakistan. So they are all right next to each other, because again, the population, the poor we have, and the kind of amenities we have, it's more than the earning and all these things that we have looked into. Okay, here, if you look at this entire concept, what we should do is create a counter narrative and start thinking in a scientific way. Can we really, really see these things can make a very positive impact on the lives of the people? And if it is, how it is going to be, and how that translates into something positive for the entire economy, also for various other aspects that we will talk about. Today, unfortunately, when we talk about economy, even today we know what is the impact of the so-called pandemic, and how many people have been pushed to the poverty because the lockdown and everything happened. Again, I'm not talking anything negative about the lockdown, because it was done with a genuine intent of protecting people's lives, minimizing the loss of lives or whatever it is. But the very important factor that we need to consider is how to uplift them from this poverty. So which are all the segments in which the impact has happened really? And when you talk about freebies, who are all the segment, and possibly can we give something to them, again not in the form of money, please, not in the form of anything, but based on their profession, how to restart that profession, in what way it would really help them, so that a positive impact could happen. Again, I have many reservations about some of the schemes that government have. Manrega scheme, right? It is very good when people are in the rural areas are having challenges with their livelihood, but it is which scheme possibly has given this idea to come up with this Manrega? The Great Depression that happened in America. So you would have heard about stories. Some use cases are also there in MBA. This thing, right? So when we talk about economy, so it was like digging the hole and then filling it, whatever it is. But they did it only once. They didn't have it like a continuous process. Whereas here we have made it like in a continuous process, where the negative thing has started creeping. In Tamil Nadu today, the rural areas, if you have to go for work in the field, right? See, most we all know that in agriculture is a major industry and major source of revenue for livelihood and the livelihood for the population in the rural areas. Today, many of the people don't want to go for the work in the farm. What they actually want to do is they will go and sit, because it's 100 days nowadays, it's been increased to 150 days, which means that technically 5 months of work. All what they do is, if there is some work, road stuff or whatever it is, they do. Otherwise, they will go gather in a particular place, and half of them won't do any work. I'm not saying everybody, whatever it is. Sometimes they may not even have any work, productive work, but still they go, they sit, they get the money, and ultimately they are paid. Yes, they for livelihood we are ready to pay, but whom are we paying, for what purpose? When they are not doing any work, we are paying them, and something productive is happening? No. Instead of that, the government should come up with a portal and ask all the, like SME segment, you also have small and micro farmers, like somebody who is having 2 acres or less, and today one side they do all the farming activities. When it is about to get the yield, when when they are about to do the harvest, they don't have any farmer, the laborers available to do that work. And look at it, no, if I have vegetables, if it is not plucked at the right time, it becomes spoiled. Or for example, you have to do it at the right time. Everybody know what I'm talking about. Instead of that, if the government says, okay, this farmer has said that I need 10 laborers, the so-called amount, let us say 200 rupees or 150 rupees, or whatever minimum amount, I will pay from my side. Government is going to give it anyway. It is also an indirect subsidy for the farmer, and anyway it is a double, they can double account it. One side it is like a subsidy for the farmer, other side they are anyway going to pay them. Look at the farmer, no, he is able to get the output and the result he wants, so that the agriculture as an industry, as the wheel of this nation remains strong. I don't know that babus or the so-called bureaucrats sitting in AC room coming up with these ideas, which is only making more damage to the society on the longer run than really helping it. I sincerely wish that these kind of counterproductive things, these kind of freebies or whatever it is, are rather being used in this constructive way. Definitely it can make a positive impact. I'm not against freebies. I was against freebies, let me put it this way. But instead, if we change it in this way, and if we start helping people, if there is a proper scientific study, if there is a proper study that is being done, if a proper set of tools and mechanisms and processes that are put in place, I can assure you we can turn things upside down, and believe me, everybody will be happy. But the governments seriously need to think innovatively. So this is all I want to share today, and then again, it's a very long subject. I'm sure you are all very, very intelligent folks. You can do more research, and VHS agenda is all about that. We have to do more research. We need to come up with our own thought process and ideas and share it and in the public forum and speak about it with all the social groups, so that somewhere it makes a positive impact. With this, I would like to sincerely thank each and every one of you who have taken your time this evening to listen to this speech. And I also would like to thank VHS Karnataka for making this wonderful arrangement, my beloved brothers Nikunj and team. And thank you, Bhujangaji, senior persons like him who are kindly as coordinating this. And thanks to the technical team like Tejas and all who are continuing to do a wonderful job. I used to hear all these speeches as well, and I was very. In fact, the initial thought happened with Nikunji and all. We were discussing it, and we of course are going to have wonderful speakers in the coming days. I'm also excited. It is an extension or version 2 of the so-called VHS talk, which used to happen, or VHS like a TED talk, right? And I sincerely thank you all, and thank VHS Karnataka team members who have put all the efforts. And I also would like to thank our state president Chandralekha ji, and our national president Subramanian Swami ji, and all the national secretaries like Jagdish Shetty ji and all, for their immense work and inspiration. Thank you so much. Of course, if you have any questions, we can discuss it. Bhujangaji, you are on mute.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Rameshji, thank you very much for the nice talk you gave us today evening. Earlier, we spoke a bit about the universal basic income and some of the downsides of it. And your talk really has thrown a certain perspective on how to make all the freebies more productive, not only to the receivers, but also to the general economy. So it's a good start, and I'm sure these discussions can be forwarded, and the powers that we can have a look at it and make it useful to the larger community.
Sure.
One question that was on top of my mind was how is it possible for election commission to take note of these things and then put a certain window of time when these freebies should not be announced by the political parties? Is it possible at all?
I doubt it, because see, as I told you, right, there are repeated PALs coming up, right, about these freebies. But really speaking, another interesting example I forgot to mention: the freebies that were recently during Jayalalitha, when she was alive, announced was giving goats and cattle for the so-called the rural families, right? It was a big, wonderful thing. But what government should have done is, I will give you a goat, but in return, when it is when it gives birth to the first this thing, right, the offsprings, you will give it back to the government. Because if they do so, look at it. No, I gave you one. Now you have given back at least one or two, if not two, at least one, right? So again, you can give it as a chain, this thing like a MLM kind of a thing. So you can again give it to another family. So this can become like a chain and a cyclic process. So such things can also be done. And before we went live, I think we spoke about universal income scheme, Bhujangaji. See, universal basic income, I think it is not a right thing to support. I have my own absolute reservations for it, because if I'm going to give you the money, believe me, the guys who are propagating about talking about it, they also have a sinister plan behind it. I mean, I told you about the television set example, right? It exactly will be like that. When they give the money, they will also say how exactly you need to spend that money. It is not going to come to you like, for where you will end up spending it at your free will. So it will come up with its own riders, and it will come up with so many other things, and ultimately it will also make a very, very negative impact in the society. And I have no doubt about it, unless it is tied to the way how I was referring to.
Ramesh ji, I have a few questions from few enthusiastic viewers. I would
Please.
like to mention some of them here. We have a person who is requesting what are the freebies being handed out by AP government. I don't know if you can take it offhand, but that's a question that is on top of somebody's mind, saying AP government is handing out a lot of freebies.
See, that's it. Again, I've given you a template, right? How to think about each freebies, right? So it is all about how what is relevant and what is not. Of course, the freebies and all, we have seen Chandrababu Naidu promise many things like pension scheme, this scheme, that scheme, and all these things, right? But in reality, how the governments or state governments are managing their finance. See, freebies you can announce, but the biggest problem is when you really do that, ultimately you end up getting money from outside, right? Which means what, you every year, whatever the money also that you will make, you have to pay the interest for those loans, and you take loan and use that loan money to pay the interest for the loan that was taken previously, which is disastrous. Which means that if one state does it, the whole nation will also suffer, because the burden ultimately goes not only to the states but also to the center. So these are all the factors ultimately need to be taken into consideration. The center should also intervene. Again, this should not be used as a political tool by the center to curb some of the good schemes also. But there should be a fine, balanced approach. Otherwise, again, the state guys will say, look, I'm not able to provide it because center is blocking it. Because if it is non-BJP government, they will blame BJP. If BJP ruled state is there and at center, if the Congress is going to be there, again, they will blame Congress. And we all know how the typical so-called, the political drama works. So ultimately, what I'm saying is, it is the person who has asked the question rather should come up with his point of view and present it here, saying that this, or at least share it with us. This is my thought process. This is good and this is bad.
There is a question. Thank you, Ramesh ji. There's a question from Vignesh,
Yeah.
who is saying, how do you judge which freebie is positive and which is not, sir? How do you measure the benefits?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, there are tangible benefits, there are intangible benefits. I simply give that is why I gave the example of the mixie or the fan versus the television. Or even talk about the 100 units of electricity, right? The 100 units of electricity, if you look at it, ultimately, if you cross the 100 unit and become 101 unit, everybody knows how much you are being charged. You are charged at an exorbitant amount, okay? And then they will say that, we give a minimum of some, so 200 rupees back into your account or whatever it is, but you will end up paying a lot. In Tamil Nadu, that is exactly it is working, but look at it, no? It is seen as a very positive impact. Definitely, we see the central government also talks about rural electrification, right? We are talking about moving towards being power surplus or so-called electricity surplus. We want to move towards more renewable energy and all these things. One side you are giving the free electricity. The central government should also make sure that enforce the states to go more towards the so-called renewable energy production. A very simple example: the coastal cities can produce electricity from waves. So we are all having a wonderful seashores, so they can put the tidal electricity generation. Look at it, there are many rivers which are all flowing, right, except for the particular time when the like Ganges or whatever it is, at a particular time you have the flood alert and all. Leaving that out, look at, there are many small scale turbines, movable turbines and all they have come up with. Very innovative companies have come. Maybe Indian companies should produce it. The IIT folks and all, they should produce it. Put it in the shallow water region or the high current area and all. For every house, they can produce electricity in their backyard. I don't know why we are not doing that. Look at it, no? If Haridwar, if for example, if they take this approach that I am talking about, nearly 40% of the houses can have electricity generated through this way, and many of the houses can produce electricity and even distribute it free for another 2 or 3 houses also. I'm talking about the minimum consumption, right? Maybe 2 fans and 2 let's say bulbs or whatever it is. So this is the kind of a thing that we are talking about. I don't know why such things are not being promoted. Solar panels is one thing, but the cost of solar panel is high. Maybe less than 10,000 thing. If this kind of turbines and all that we are talking about, if this could be produced, believe me, or wind, this thing also, you don't need a complete turbine kind of a thing. There is even if you look at it, highways, right? They are talking about in there are European countries, they have that wind turbines put at the corner, not like a typical turbine, but it is like a rotary kind of a thing. You just put it, as the vehicle moves, it generates electricity. We are talking about electrifying the roads like Europe in the coming times, because we want to promote electric vehicles consumption and usage. If that is the case, why not you use it for such purpose? When you have this highways, you put panels, solar panels, as well as this turbines. So why not government come up with this innovative ideas?
Yeah, thank you. That was nice explanation. I think we are slightly running out of time now.
Yes.
So I want to use this opportunity to thank you, Ramesh ji, for the wonderful talk.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all the listeners on this show from the VHS and the other community for having spent valuable time and participating in this VHS Samvada. And Nikunji, thank you very much for enabling the VHS Karnataka platform and keeping these Samvada sessions running week on week. And I particularly want to thank Tejas for enabling the IT platform. And I have my young colleagues. I have the privilege of thanking Rakesh and Ishwarayar for providing the support and making this Samvada work flawlessly. So thank you, listeners, and thank you, Ramesh ji, again.
Thank you. It was an
I-
absolute pleasure.
I just have to say that I sincerely apologize for my network connection that went off. Rameshji, I had a long list to introduce you. Unfortunately, I could not do it because of my bad
is okay.
connection. And I sincerely apologize to you and viewers.
No. Thank
you very much.
I don't
Thank you.
think for family, we don't need an introduction.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jesus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and